myself, Counselor Reynolds, and
Yeah,
Counselor Angela.
then he was on
I have one
my
motion from the
wait.
docket of February 3rd, 2026. I entertain a motion to transfer $50,000 from account citywide reserve fund for transfer to the following. $25,000 to fire department vehicle maintenance and $25,000 to fire department major vehicle repairs in order to provide funding to maintain the fire department apparatus for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Second?
Thank you. We've already spent around $93,000 of the $100,000 allocated for the major vehicle repairs, and approximately $83,000 of the $94,700 allocated for the vehicle maintenance account. So this additional funds will help us get through the fiscal year. Any other comments or questions about this? All those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion passes. I have two guests this evening. Let's see here, if I can get their attention. Can you let them know? Sorry, thank you. So I invited the fire chief and the police chief here this evening. We did this last year as well. This is, yes, thank you. This is something I'm hoping to do annually. I asked for three things. The first was if they could give us any trends for their department, the call volume, increased needs that they're noticing, and then the last two have to do with the IT needs of the department, and the third is the infrastructure needs of their department. And then obviously anything else they're open to sharing, we'd be happy to hear about. But before either of them start, I just want to say, we are so lucky to have both of them. They've been through several administrations, and we just don't give them enough praise for the consistency that they've offered this community. So I really wanted to mention that before they both speak. Thank you.
This means we're old.
One way of putting it.
It reminded me I'm shorter, though. Half of North America shorter than me, taller than me, I should say. Nevertheless, so how do you want to do this, Counselor? You want me to
Sure,
start off, or
you
wanna
can
ask
speak about,
questions, or-
anyway, the three things are the call volume, any increased trends that you're noticing, any needs that you're noticing, and then any IT or infrastructure needs that you're noticing and that you want to share with us about the department.
Sure.
So any way you'd like to go.
So regarding the Ascension House, 150 Pleasant Street, when this project began, it was initially a homeless shelter for the city of Attleboro, for people associated with the city of Attleboro. Over the several meetings and what have you, it was learned that it was no longer going to be isolated to Attleboro, that it was going to be opened up to a regional, and then a large regional, southeastern Mass, and then southern Mass, and then Massachusetts, and now it's become New England. So what happened, I don't know. I went to the initial idea meeting, and thereafter, I did not go back to any of the other planning meetings because I knew a train was coming down the road and I didn't want to be associated with it. And the train has arrived, and we're dealing with it. The Ascension House is the #1 call location in the city of Attleboro for the police department, and I don't want to speak for the fire chief, but I do have his call records here. It's a high location for him also. This is amazing, this statistic, because Sturdy Hospital has been the #1 call location in the history of Attleboro for years and years and years. And that's just because of their patient population, clientele, the ER, and we never thought that would change until the Ascension House homeless shelter came into 150 Pleasant Street. Just since February 2nd, we've had 127 calls for service at this location. It's 127. That's significant. And the call volume is not just minor offenses either. We've been there for unfortunate deaths. drugs, other associated crimes, citizens needed service, and it's taking a lot of runs away from the rest of the city for the fire department, the rescue going there for various reasons such as associated crisis calls, medical calls. So our offices, my offices are extending in a significant amount of time at this location. What started out as a great idea, in theory, has become a nightmare for the police department, and I can't speak for the fire chief. Although, in theory, it's good, the proposal, what I initially saw, is not what's going on there right now. And the associated crimes and disorder issues that are happening along in the area of 150 Pleasant Street is troubling also. I'm sure if you go down there and talk to the businesses, so you're talking to the residents that live around there, I'm pretty sure they could share some stories. I'm sure everyone in this honorable body is familiar with the POP team. POP team spends a significant amount of time addressing issues at 150 Pleasant Street. Now, it's not lost on me that these people come with issues and problems and what have you, and that's, you know, and it's a location that, like I said, in theory, was gonna be good. A lot of them come with mental health issues, dual diagnosis issues, and everything else, and it's not just socioeconomic homeless. It's a very small population that lives there. So, but what's concerning to me is the Attleboro homeless don't even want to go there. And I know this for a fact from the POP team working with our local homeless population. They don't want to go there. The ones that have gone there have been bullied, threatened from, like I said, outside of Attleboro. And I'll just read some of the communities that are coming there that are, I don't want to use the term dropped into Attleboro, but they're being dropped into Attleboro. Because if you're not familiar with how the operation works, there's apartment style, long-term, and then there's what they call emergency overnight sheltering. And by 7 a.m., they have to leave the shelter, and they're not allowed back in at 7 p.m. So where do they go? One location is the library. So the library's kind of become a day homeless shelter. And a librarian's dealing, and her staff is dealing with those associated issues. It's pretty bad when a social worker has to go to the library to deal with issues that librarians shouldn't be dealing with. But for this increased population being dropped into Attleboro. So Barnstable, Boston, Brockton, Chelsea, Easton, Fall River, Gardner, Massachusetts, Hoosick in New Hampshire, Lowell, Ludlow, Middleborough, New Bedford, Norwood, associated towns up and around Manchester, New Hampshire, Orleans, Pembroke, Plymouth, Revere, Rockland, Taunton, Waltham, and, did I say it? Falmouth. So it's difficult to say that this is not a good location, because in theory it is a good location and it serves a population that needs help. However, it's taking away resources from the rest of the residents, named police and fire, to serve this population. It's difficult because you have to use empathy as the police chief. You have to. However, I'm still trying to protect the rest of the city. And I just like to say that, where are the people that started this?
Yeah.
Where are the people that brought this into our community? Because the fire chief and myself are dealing with it. The police officers, the firefighters are dealing with it. Where are the people that started this? What are they doing? Because it was, sure, some of us went to the ceremony. It was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. What happened? And if you can tell by the tone of my voice, it's a little frustrating. It is a little frustrating. It's pretty sad when the Attleboro population of homeless don't even want to go to this location. Nevertheless, anybody has any questions?
Counselor Angela.
I have a lot of questions. I'll try to make it brief. Do we even know who's in charge over there?
We do, and from the reports I'm getting back is that I don't know if the operation is being, if it's being staffed correctly. There is sometimes a lack of cooperation with the officers that respond there. Maybe they're well-intentioned, well-meaning, but there's a lot of improvement that can be accomplished.
So I'm guessing they don't have a security guard in place over there.
No, sir, they do not.
And Council Holmes, do we get Jim Hawkins and Senator Palfini down here to, to answer some of these questions too?
I certainly think, yeah, we can have this committee meeting and then we can discuss it as a committee.
I mean,
Mila, did you have something? Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, because we have more than enough people. The questions we need to ask is why are we getting people from all over the New England when we have more than enough people in Attleboro? I know there's way more than enough people in Attleboro that are homeless that could handle there. And my one last question, I apologize, is did you, Chief, did you mention that they have to leave during the day?
So there is, it's a two-part shelter where there's 22 single-occupant long-term apartments on the upper floors, and then there's 18 adult emergency beds. Those 18 adult emergency beds have to be turned over on a daily basis, and then you have to secure your stay during that night, first come, first served. So they have to be out by 7 a.m., and I believe they don't come back till 7 p.m. I think it's a 12-hour layover between the opening of the beds. So they have to go somewhere. And the other associated issue we're having is if there is a code of conduct violation by a person that is staying there, either long-term or overnight, they're disinvited. Then that person ends up being homeless in Attleboro. They don't go back to where they came from. So then we're taking on the additional burden of other communities' homeless population into Attleboro. So there's a lot of issues, and I could say more, but I don't want to sound like uncaring, but it's difficult when you got other crimes and disorder issues throughout the city, 911 calls, and this special population is taking up time and resources. But I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. They need help. Trying to get them the help. There's just a lot at play here. They come with a lot of baggage and a lot of issues.
I think providing a roof over someone's head doesn't necessarily solve everything, and it's kind of like, okay, we're providing a building, but now the social service resources and the wraparound services are kind of just like, and then it kind of seems to me like the staff may be relying on the police to manage some of these individuals that are getting out of control, and then it's like, who really can help this individual? Is it really appropriate for them to go to the police station? Maybe not, but.
And we're not gonna arrest people out of there.
Yeah.
We're not in the business to arrest to solve problems.
Yeah.
That's not our model. Arrest is the last resort.
Yeah.
Taking away somebody's liberty for disorderly conduct or breach of the peace, like the Neanderthal ways of policing are over in this city for as long as I'm the police chief.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not solving the root cause issue.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Because they can be kicked out of the shelter, then they're on the street, and then there's other issues. They walk up to the street, they're squatting in somebody's yard or into a business. You know, I don't want to name the businesses. I have the businesses listed that call and complain, but it's not fair to them to list them here at this venue. Mm-hmm. But if you want to call me directly, I can give you information, because there's a lot to digest. I just don't know. I appreciate you inviting me. I just don't know what the solution can be, because you can't say, oh well, we can't help them. But at the same time, I don't want to be a burden to this honorable body with a budget saying, I need more money, I need more police officers, because we have a homeless shelter now.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't want to see businesses close or people leave the city that are up and down Pleasant Street.
Yeah.
So what do you do? You know,
Does anyone, Councilor Delacio? and then
Thank you. It's
Councilor
more of a
Reynolds, please.
comment, Chief. This sounds to me like the ultimate bait and switch, because this isn't what we were talking, what was initially conveyed to us. I think the biggest thing, as I remember at the beginning stages when people were talking about this, is the bed turnovers wasn't going to be there. There'd be some emergency services, but 18 beds. We were told this wasn't gonna be like Taunton, where they had people in at 5, in at 7, out by 5. Let me rephrase, you know what I'm saying, but, have to leave at 7, then they wander downtown, they get into vagrancy, they get into trouble, they cause more calls for you folks to come down, and you have enough going on right now. I think something has to be done, and I think I'm glad you brought this to the forefront, because this is a
my
problem.
understanding, Counselor, is that the Southern New England, or Southern Massachusetts shelters closed to open up this.
To open
And to
this.
answer your question, I think it was why it went regional, there was a bigger pot of money. That if you went regional, you got more money to build capital and what have you, which, yeah, it increases the footprint of the building and maybe the capital to build a larger facility, but you're taking on a larger problem also. So,
Just feels like the ultimate bait and switch here.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't what we were promised.
Agreed.
Councilor Reynolds?
I'm just going to say I'm on board with you, Chief, and as well with Councilor Delicio. I didn't support it to begin with, because these were some of the questions I had. So I was never really in support of it, because you never really got a full answer. And I think, actually, it goes back to Jim Hawkins. That's who belongs in here. He's the one that brought it in, talks about how much money he got for it and what he's doing, and let him discuss it. Let him find out and tell us what's going on, because it is a state issue, and he is the one that is behind it. So he should be explaining himself and the program, quite frankly.
my understanding is that the facility is telling the residents that it's the police department's responsibility.
Yeah, but it isn't.
Exactly, it isn't. You know,
It isn't.
it's a very large city with a population that needs police services and not just personalized police service to one location.
I think it's a state issue, quite frankly. And,
Councilor Marcel, sorry, is that it?
yeah, and Representative Hawkins should be in here and tell us what the heck is going on. That's
Well,
the end of my comments. Thank you.
To that point, Representative Hawkins stood here when we had the meeting for the senior center and said, it's such a success, there's been no complaints, no phone calls, which anyone that lives in Attleboro knows that's not true. And I think he does need to come down and maybe get with the people that are running this place and set some new rules, because I also don't think we should be catering to all of New England. Like you said, Chief, we have plenty of homeless in Attleboro that need help. And that was the impression I think most of the city thought was gonna be happening there.
The POP team council works with those homeless, and we know who they are, we deal with them. And we try to bring them to that facility, and they're like, I'd rather stay in my tent. When I heard that, I said to myself, who in these frigid temperatures would rather stay in a tent than go down to the homeless shelter? To me, I was like, wow, that's a
Must be
significant
pretty
issue.
bad.
Councilor Torres?
I think. Chief, I don't know if there's any data that's available, but I'm curious, is there any information that you all collect or that you would be privy to that shows the breakdown of calls within the facility between the long-term housing and the transient beds? And I mean, I'm not sure if, the information is drilled down
I
that
can read
far,
this
but-
to you. You want me to read this to you?
If that's all right.
Yes.
All right, so of the 127 calls for service documented to 150 Pleasant Street, 45 of those calls were medical events, fire department rescue, followed by 23 disturbances, 11 citizens requiring assistance. The remaining 48 were a variety of concerns, including overdoses, criminal harassment, assaults, domestic incidents, and et cetera. So and we did have unfortunately one overdose death at that location, but more or less that was it wasn't associated to the staff of that facility. That was life choices leading up, going into that facility over the course of years, if you can understand what I'm saying. But so we do track this, and we have a great crime analyst, and the POP team obviously is on top of this also. And I think my frustration is that, we're with the POP team, we're pretty good at addressing issues and getting to root causes, but this has me scratching my head. It really does, because I see the businesses and I hear from them, and I see the residents, and because you don't want to sound that you don't care, but at the same time, it's impacting a quality of life. So what do? You don't want to say, not my backyard, but it's kind of not my backyard issue. You know what I mean? These people need help. So it's a struggle.
Sorry.
Chief, I'm thinking about the role of our social worker here. And I'm guessing, please enlighten me, that what our social worker was able to focus on and do with the police department, with the POP team, before the house opened, and what's going on now is eating into a great deal of the social worker's time and less time for what they were doing before. Am I correct?
You kind of lost me. I'm trying to understand.
How
your
has this
question.
affected the work of our social worker?
You talked about the dosage of time spent
Yeah.
associated with.
Yeah.
We're talking uniform officers. We're talking about police response there. We're not talking. When they get there, they're supposed. My understanding was they're supposed to have social services and
Training.
People there.
Counselors.
counselors. Thank you, sir. That it wasn't the role of the POP team to go down there and
Right.
and deal with this, right? That's not the policy of the PD of what the POP team is doing. We provide services to the residents of the city and people that need help and what have you, but we're not supposed to be going down there doing counseling service and what have you, if that's your question. I'm talking about uniformed police officers having to respond there. But the problems that once the person gets booted or kicked out, now becomes kind of the POP team issue, because now we have a homeless person in the city, and how do we get them services? And it's kind of like a dog chasing its tail, because they were just getting services and they got kicked out. Now we're trying to get them services. So we've actually drove them back to where they came from, and it's kind of like, wow, it is a dog chasing its tail. They just came from a community across Massachusetts, and now we're transporting them back. But they were just in services, but they couldn't abide by the rules, or they might have committed a crime or what have you. For whatever reason, they can't stay there, and the conduct of their behavior got them kicked out.
Any other comments? No? Okay. You have something else?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, you touched on it, you had said, Chief, that, people need help. But it sounds like obviously they're not getting the proper help. And that's
Well,
not.
I don't know that, because I don't want to go on record and say that they're not getting help. They may be getting help, but,
Maybe not proper help.
well, I don't know that either. Because I can bring a horse to water. I'm really good at that. I don't know if I can get them to drink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, when they're not there, they're doing something they're not supposed to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or when they're there, are there a domestic incident or a fight or an assault or something, you know what I mean? Which violates the house rules of conduct, and they no longer can stay there.
Yeah.
But they might have been getting associated help.
Yeah.
Does that make
Sure,
sense?
I completely understand.
I'm not saying that
Yeah.
they're lacking the services and everything else.
Yeah.
I don't wanna
Yeah.
say that about about the Ascension House.
Yeah.
They may have the greatest counselors in the world, but the counsel is only so good as the person's willing to accept the help, right?
Yeah, good point. Could we request that we get any information he can give to this body, and then when we get State Rep Hawkins or anybody else here so we have that information and we can present that to them.
Yes, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Any other on this topic? Well, do you want to tell us a little bit about any IT needs or infrastructure needs with the building or anything inside internally that we're going to be hearing about in terms of the budget? Or we know that we always do the tour over there, and we know.
You guys seen our facility, you know what our needs are. It's gonna take an override to get a new police station or a combined fire police station, you know, and there's no appetite right now because of the override for the school, and, you know, so realistically, I don't see an override happening in the future. It's not an appetite that the citizens, especially the elderly in our city, want to take on right now. So we're doing the best we can with the facility we have.
Oh, and I think that there's a new space over here.
Yeah, the mayor is trying to create more of a footprint down in the basement or on the first floor of the building. There's, I think, 14 people operating out of the old post office now. So the pop team's over there, the operations captain, the traffic unit, and the court officers. Forgetting one person. I believe there's 14 people out of there, which is significant. If you ever been in that office, it's not a very large space, but we made a cubicle farm out of it. So, yeah, we need a new police station. It's no secret. But it's going to take an override. It's going to take a location. You know, it's planning that should have happened maybe 50 years ago that this honorable body is dealing with, and the mayor. I'm on the back nine of my career. I can probably see a clubhouse coming up in the near future. Maybe on the 17th tee right now. I wish you luck.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No? Thank you so much for coming.
right,
Really
thank you.
appreciate it.
See you at the 19th hole.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you
And
for
just-
having me.
Yes.
I don't think I can top Chief Headney, so I'm not gonna try.
You just say ditto.
Yeah, I don't try. I wasn't actually expecting to talk about the Ascension House at all, but I do have some run data that I think is interesting about that property. It's actually a little bit surprising to me. It is in our top 10 of the fire department for responses. So we went there 72 times last year, in one facility, 72. The majority of them are medical calls. We do, we bill for ambulance transports, but the majority of those patients are Mass Health patients, Medicare, or no insurance, which they're not supposed to have no insurance in Massachusetts, but there are still some. So the fees that we collect from that don't even come close to, paying the fair share of the services. We've also been there for several fire alarm activations, and we've already had one fire there. So the fire was caused by unattended candles. One of the things that caught my attention after that fire was I went there with some of my fire prevention staff, and I met with their staff. We were, to say surprised is an understatement, that's not staffed 24 hours a day. Okay, it's not staffed. That's a massive problem. So one of the things we do at a fire, especially in a building like that, is we look for a responsible person to tell us everybody's accounted for. We have no way to tell if everybody's accounted for. Now, luckily, the building's sprinkled, so the likelihood of something significant happening isn't huge, but, there was a sprinkled building in the Fall River, and we saw that in the news, how many people died in this. So sprinkler systems do fail. We have water main breaks, we have other things happen, so we can't be complacent and just assume it's not gonna be a problem. So I met with them, a couple days after the fire with some of my staff, and was really surprised at that answer. They told me that they're staffed Monday through Friday during the day. They may have some overnight coverage during the week, but they definitely, or it might be on the weekend, I can't remember which day it is, but they are definitely not staffed 24/7, which I find completely unacceptable. And now we're trying to call contact personnel, and, it's a private company. where, we're kind of making one phone call, then we're making a second phone call, making a third phone call. It takes us a significant amount of time to get somebody there to the property so that now we can sit there and say, is everybody here? And that was a minor fire, had it been a major incident, it's something that is really not a good practice. We did meet with the staff and they were receptive to making some changes, so I'm hopeful, that they will. And that doesn't fall under some of the things in the regular fire code. Like in the fire code for like things like schools, daycares, nursing homes, hospitals, they're required by the Mass Fire Code to have 4 inspections by us annually. This place only requires 1. So we inspect it once a year. So everything, candles, you can't have live candles in the building. If they had 24-hour staff that was actually being attentive to their job, they would have known that. So I think that's just important to note that I think maybe the staffing that we were told was going to be there isn't really working out the way that we were all under the impression was going to happen. And just to keep that in perspective, the 72 calls for one facility, there are some other ones, and I want to be careful how I phrase this. There are some facilities that we expect to go to a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that, and they've been in the city for a long time. 46 Pine Street, which I've been with the city for 26 years, I still call it Gardner Terrace. I know that's not what it's called anymore. I don't remember what it's called, but 46 Pine Street, which is, right across the street, 234 times. But it's what we expect. It's not something that was new that was brought in. So it's not, it's not anything that's surprising to us. 100 Garfield Ave, which is the old Canterbury Woods, whatever that's called now, 200 times a year. Again, whenever we go there, it's completely legitimate. It's nothing comes to my mind as being excessive for that type of facility. May Street, the mental health hospital is 151 times. The new apartment complex, 45 South Main Street, 129 times. That's pretty high. That's just something that we have to keep in mind when we build these kinds of facilities. That's what happens. We're going to go 129 times is a fair amount of responses. And every time we do that, every time 1 or 2 trucks is out of service for an hour, that reduces our fire protection for an hour. And, there's a fine line, the standards for our ISO rating for the city, which is it's a organization that rates our capability of fire protection. It's important for commercial insurance ratings. When I became fire chief, we were a class 5. We're now a class 2. Class 1 is the best. Very few departments in Massachusetts are class 1. We're a class 2. We could easily become a class 1, or we could easily become a class 3 in the next 5 years. The fact is, the things that change that rating are heavily is call volume. They look at how available you are, and once one of my trucks is available less than 50% of the time, we don't get to count them as firefighters, because all of the standards say basically they're not going to be available. So almost every rescue is in that category. Engine 1 at headquarters does like 3,500 calls a year. It's one of the more busy fire engines in the Commonwealth. Not going to lie, most of them are medical calls, but there's paramedics on the trucks, and when they're going there for a reason. So those are things that, in the future, I've talked about it every year when I do my budget hearing. The city does need to have a plan for growth, especially with EMS, because it's one of the few services that the population that we're in agreement on that needs housing also needs these services. So if we're going to do things to house them, we better make sure we have things in place to give them those services. So I just wanted to bring that up for that facility. Another statistic, and I have spoken usually during my budget meetings, is the trend in call volume. I don't have all of our data this fiscal year, this calendar year yet for 2025. One of the challenges with the data is we've compiled it from different software platforms. Some of it is by fiscal year, some of it's by calendar year. So sometimes the numbers can look a little bit misleading. But to keep it in perspective, when I became the chief in 2010, we did 6,021 calls that year. This year was 9,600 and something. Okay, that's a 50% increase. And there's always trends. Some years you can have a fluctuation of like 100 or so up or down. Doesn't really mean much, because one big storm, like this particular storm we just had, wasn't very busy for us. We did our regular 30 calls for the shift. The reason it wasn't busy is it wasn't heavy wet snow. There weren't any power lines down. You give us a different storm where it's wet and, power lines down, we're gonna have 100 calls. That's not uncommon. You have a few of those storms, your data can look a little bit skewed, which is why I like to look at it. I have now, 15 years of data, and the trend is pretty clear that we're increasing in volume 3 to 5% a year. Nothing's gonna change that. So I just think that it's important that we're making plans for that. One of the things that we did was when I looked at some of the data, we also look at how long it takes to get to calls. That's another standard that we have to follow. Or, not that we have to follow, we can get there, it can take us forever, and it's not like some agency is gonna say that we can't do it, but it's not good for, for patient care. So the standard is that we should be getting at these scenes in 4 to 6 minutes, 90% of the time. That's an NFPA standard that you try to meet. When I became chief, we met it. Now we get on scene in time about 60% of the time. And there was a lot of reasons why when I looked at it, and the most common reason why is multiple calls going on at the same time. So what was happening is Rescue 1, which is the busiest truck in the city, would be on a call, maybe with Engine 1 because it's a real critical patient, so they need the extra personnel. And now at the same time, another medical call comes in at headquarters. Well, now Rescue 2 comes from South Attleboro all the way up. I send my ladder truck with paramedics. It's all good so far. Now Rescue 2 gets up there. Now there's a call in South Attleboro. And I'm sending an ambulance from Briggs Corner all the way down there, and it's taking 15 minutes. Right? So we looked at all of the data, and the truth is the biggest use of resources is headquarters. That's the busiest district by far. Out of the 10,000 calls we do a year, at least 6,000 are right here in this district headquarters. So we took the ambulance out of Briggs Corner, we put it at headquarters, so we are running 2 ambulances now at headquarters. And I've already had some community people that, well-intentioned but were misinformed, thinking that that's a decrease in service, and it's not, because Engine 4 is a Class 5 ambulance. It has all the medications, the paramedics on the truck with all of the equipment, so they can do everything, they just can't transport. So they're still getting the same level of treatment there, but now what we've done is ensure that the second rescue is available at headquarters much more consistently, and we're already seeing that it's reducing our response time. So we look at those things every month, and obviously if there was a change, we would modify it. But if you do feel any questions from constituents, you can assure them that what we're doing at Briggs Corner is working. Any questions on call volume? Nothing? All right, you'll have to refresh my mind on what the rest of
Okay, so thank you. So the first one was the needs, trends, which you just went over, and then the second and third were like the IT needs, and then the third is like the infrastructure needs,
Sure.
building needs and
Yep.
internal needs.
Obviously, if you look in the capital improvements, you'll see a lot of needs, but some of those, I don't know if I'd call them wishes, but I mean, I'd rather talk about like honest needs that we really can't debate, that they are absolute needs for the department. One of them, and it's been in the CIP for a long time, is our radio system. I could talk for hours about how the radio system works. What I can tell you, and anybody who wants more information, by all means, call me. I'll send you an email, draw pictures, whatever it takes. But there is a misunderstanding about how the radio system works. In my prior life, before the fire service, 30 years ago, my background was electrical engineering. My major was antenna theory and design, so I understand the radio system probably better than most fire chiefs do. And most people believe that when I take my portable radio and I talk to somebody else, even at the fire scene, 15 feet away, they think the radio to radio is how that's working, and it's not. All of our communication goes from radio, transmits to Ides Hill receiver site, rebroadcast at a slightly different frequency, and the portable radios pick that up. This all happens instantaneously, so you don't know it. And the reason it does that, there's 2 reasons. One, everything's recorded. So everything that hits the tower is recorded. Our portables also can only broadcast at so much power. I think it's 5 watts. That's because of our FCC license. There's no way around that, because other fire departments in Massachusetts use our same frequency. So we can't broadcast at a higher frequency because we'll be stepping on them in another community. So there are limits to how much you can broadcast at. The tower site is allowed to broadcast at a higher power. So when that rebroadcasts at probably 25, 50 watts, the portables, the firefighters are using, their truck radios, everything in dispatch is now being picked up by that broadcast by the transmitter. The other part of that is all throughout the city, using the city's fiber network, we have these devices called satellite receivers. They don't really look like the satellite you're thinking. It's just basically a box. They're either mounted on a pole. There's one at the water department, not Richardson School, I think Coelho. There's one up at Lindsay Street. There's one at my station at Briggs Corner. South Attleboro has one. There's probably another one or two. And what these devices do is they're basically ears. They're listening all the time. So if I key my radio, it transmits a signal. Instead of it going directly to the receiver site, like I talked about, at the same time, the receiver at ITIL is listening, but all of these satellite receivers are listening at the exact same time. Because it's on fiber optic, it's like this, it's instantaneous. There's a device up at the hill called a voda. That machine is analyzing all of these signals instantaneously to see which signal is the strongest. And that's what gets rebroadcast. That's how we have clear communications. We have problems now because that equipment is at least 25 or 30 years old. It's obsolete. We can't get parts for it. We were looking to maybe extend it with some grant money, and we can't even get another satellite receiver to work with it. That project has been in CIP since I've been fire chief. And now it's been conveniently, pushed back in the past by, prior administrations saying that we're going to roll that into a public safety complex. And that sounded well and good, but now we're at the point where we can't keep waiting, because what will happen, it's not a question of when, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Those devices are going to fail. And when they fail, we're going to have no radio system. And when we have no radio system, I'm going to have to come down for emergency communication, and we're going to have to do it. There isn't like we can talk about it, it has to be done. And it's going to take a year to build it. So it's time to sit down. I've talked to Mason already, so he understands the gravity of it. We're going to be looking at some strategies, and I'm just telling that to you now so that when we come sit down at some point, and it'll include the police department too. The police department's equipment's probably a little bit newer, but not much. And it makes sense if we're going to do it all at the same time, because the equipment's in the same locations. We'll save money with the labor. But that's a project that's like, when you say what's a true need, that's right up there. That's probably one of the biggest needs in the city right now. Any questions on that? It's probably more than you ever wanted to know about a radio.
Keep
No
going
questions?
here.
Okay. Well, you guys are easy.
Actually,
Does that mean we get the funding? Oh, you have a question?
yeah, what kind of money are we looking at for this?
$2 million for the fire department.
2 million? For the radio system?
Yeah. And, I mean, technology, you know how much it goes every month, so that can change drastically. To keep it in perspective, the ladder truck, some of you are new, we have a ladder truck on order. I still think it's 2.5 years out. We started the process a year ago. That is one in the, actually it's $2 million, I think 2.25. It's funny, when I became chief and I bought a truck for $500,000, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how much money that is. And now it's like 2 million, 2.5. But the ladder trucks went from $1 million to $2 million in 10 years. If you follow some of the things on social media and other things, there are some class action suits against some of the manufacturers because they do believe that there's some price gouging. The steel tariffs didn't help much. Fire apparatus is custom built. It's not like you could go buy them not off of a lot, but you could possibly buy one already built. But the reason we can't do that, and this is just for knowledge of people who may not know, fire apparatus is custom built for the city because dimensions matter. Like we have arches, not every truck can fit under the arches. When we had a ladder truck, we had to have it custom built because we had to have them make it specifically shorter so we can go under some of the railroad arches. We also have an issue at the fire station at headquarters. The front apron, the angle where it meets the road is bad. We have to make sure that every manufacturer that we talk to has a chassis that we can pull out without the front of the truck bottoming out. They also have to make sure that they fit in the fire station, because nothing's more embarrassing than it has happened. There have been departments that bought a ladder truck, and when they back it in, it's 6 inches too long. That's not something. So everything is custom built, and we can, pick the sizes. That's why it takes so long.
Vice President Dolan's.
Thank you. Just on the and I'm sure you've been speaking with Mason, and I'm not sure if now is really the time, but is that something, the radio system, that is that like can that be a phased project, or is this like all at once?
It's, when we talk to the vendors, they don't recommend it. Although it's I guess it depends on your definition of phase. So we have two problems with the radio system. What we currently have is going to fail, but it also doesn't have good enough coverage. So what we were looking at doing was extending the coverage We use the city's fiber optic network. We were looking at extending that cable from like the, probably the water department, or I think it goes down to Hill Roberts. I'm not sure if it goes much further than that. But we want to extend it from there all the way down to South Attleboro, almost to the Pawtucket line, so that we can put equipment down there, because we have terrible radio communications down there. We also have bad radio communications up on Slater Street in that area. We have some pretty poor communication, so we were looking at, we don't even have a space. Like, we would have to find some place to put a tower or something. Those are things that could certainly be phased in as options. The other part is, we have no backup radio system. And when we had the fiber optic cable fail about a month ago, a tree took it down. My South Attleboro dispatch was dead, and we had no radio system down there. Most municipalities today have a backup system, which is usually microwave dishes. So certainly, that could be something can probably be phased in, and I think that makes sense to, I find a lot of value in phasing things in when it makes sense, so it could be a 10-year plan with multiple components. I actually think it would be wise to probably hire somebody, do an RFP, and actually have somebody come in to design a plan for us, because I'm also skeptical when you talk to vendors. They're also in the business of making money, so I don't want to just take the vendor's word. I think it's important that we have somebody come sit with us and say, this is what we think you need, this is the plan for the future, and then we talk about the pain of how we're going to pay for it. But that is one of those things that, and I don't say it often. I've been the chief for 16 years, and I don't cry wolf. I think that's a poor strategy. I think my job is to be honest with the community. I always have been. This is something that could be really, really bad, really fast, and I do think that we should be seriously considering that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
What else do you have?
I think that's it. And then, the building needs.
The buildings?
It sounds like you've cleaned up a little bit. I guess the administration helped kind of clean up this,
Say that again?
clean up headquarters a little bit. Didn't you clean out one bay or something to make that?
Yeah, so we cleaned out one of the bays, two of the maintenance bays to put the rescue in. It's kind of a temporary solution. What we're looking at doing, one of the problems is apparatus maintenance. So when I became chief, I had 2 mechanics. I have no mechanics. And I can take either position. Personally, in a pure selfish standpoint, I think having 2 full-time fire department mechanics with a place that I can fix fire apparatus is obviously easier. I don't know if that's cost-effective, but I can tell you that what I'm doing is not. Sending everything out is a disaster. During the snowstorm, we put extra trucks in service because when a snowstorm like that, it's not uncommon for the ambulance to go out in the middle of the night, and you show up at a house and you have a foot of snow in the driveway. It's a 200-foot driveway, and you have to get down there somehow. So I put extra personnel in pickup trucks with a plow, with shovels, sand, salt, everything. They're there for the duration. They go to every single call. And if they have to plow your driveway, they do it. Whatever we have to do to get to the house, we're going to do it. When they got back to the South Attleboro Fire Station, the plow got stuck in the down position, and we couldn't use it for the rest of the storm. Now again, back in the day, if I had a mechanic, I would have had him or her on duty for the storm, so that if something happened. So we don't have that ability. We manage, but I think that would be something to look at. And I have had conversations with the mayor about a citywide maintenance, whether it's building maintenance or apparatus maintenance or a combination of it. I'm an advocate for that. I believe that there's a lot of I don't know if repetition is the right word, but I think there's a lot of duplication in the city that isn't necessary. And I think that we should be able to figure out some ways. I'm not an advocate to do something worse, but if we can do it the same or better, and we can do it for, and save some money, I think that makes sense. In my case, I'm looking at it, what we're doing isn't good. It doesn't work. I spent already $200,000 this year on apparatus maintenance. Some of it we can't do internal. That's just, we're not going to replace an engine. We're not going to replace a transmission. It doesn't make sense. But I have, 25 vehicles, and I'm just doing the general maintenance and tires and batteries and all of that stuff takes a lot of time. So we send it out. Well, you send it out, you go to a shop, you're paying $180 an hour for the shop rate, plus they're marking up the materials. You don't have to, be the greatest person with money to realize that that's probably not in our best interest. So I hope that that's something that does go forward, because I would be an advocate for that, and I think that would be not just a savings for the city, but I think it gives us the opportunity to do some things much better than we're doing them.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One quick question, Chief. So getting back to the maintenance of having a mechanic and stuff, and so I'm sure you can easily quantify that. Say if we're paying someone just crazy numbers or whatever, say $70,000-$80,000 a year. But if you're setting out, in paying say $200,000 in a certain period of time, then obviously that's a no-brainer, really. I mean, you're paying health insurance and you're paying other things too as well. But you figure that all in, and what's the total cost, and then maybe we pull that.
And the other cost that, it's not really clear, but I do pay overtime for apparatus maintenance. So I do have a captain in my department who he actually was a fire department mechanic many years ago. He maintains, he's in charge of my maintenance of apparatus. So he will come in on overtime, he'll do some repairs. He coordinates it. If he doesn't, if it's not worth it for him to do it, he'll send it out. But even to send out a truck, I have to have 2 guys on overtime.
Say, plus you need drivers.
Right? So I have to, because I can't, we're too busy. When I first got on the fire department, it wasn't uncommon. It makes me feel old too. I have these conversations with Kyle sometimes. It's like, it goes by quick. You don't realize how quick it goes by. And I don't want to sound like, that guy saying like, well, when I got on, but I can remember the first shift I ever did at the South Attleboro Fire Station. I was so excited to work down. It was 26 years ago. I was all excited because I got detailed out to the station. I was like, oh man, this is great. And the first day, 24-hour shift, we didn't even leave the building. And I was on the, we were Rescue 2, and we were Crossman and Ladder 2. We didn't even leave the station on a call. That was not uncommon. It didn't happen all the time, but it wasn't shocking. If we have less than 30 calls a day now, the guys are going, oh my God, it was slow. And South Attleboro is easily doing 10 calls a day. So that's just, so like I said, when I got on, it was the captain could say, well, you 2 guys take that truck and go bring it there. We can't do it now, because if you're halfway there and you get a call, like, what do? We can't just pull over and leave the truck on the side of the road. So it's pretty complicated. The working piece is there's a lot to it. So I would be 100% supportive of any kind of a, maintenance facility that we could go there and drop our trucks off. And same thing for buildings, because I spend a tremendous amount of time doing building stuff. I mean, I have people doing it for me too, but at the end, it still all comes to me. And it's not a municipal government is interesting. It's just, when you first become the chief, you think your job is just putting out fires and going to calls, and then you quickly realize it's like a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's hard in the government side to fix things. Like in the private sector, you would just say, well, we're not doing that tomorrow. This is how we're doing it. Public sector, there's a lot. We have different, mayor's administrations, we have unions, we have civil service law, we have funding issues, we have the municipal council, all of those things. And I look at it that I probably have at most 5 years left before I retire. All of my energy at work now is building institutional knowledge and ensuring that whoever takes over is better prepared than I was, and I don't mean that negatively. I want to make sure that they have, so they're doing a lot of these things now. I'm working hard to get them up to speed with all of that, so that they're ready to get to go right from the beginning. But I think that it's important to start now, even with the council. Like if we had like working groups or something like that. Like a lot of municipalities, fire districts. I have friends that are in a town that has a fire district. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that is. It's independent from the rest of the government. They have a fire tax, and it's kind of weird. It's an interesting thing, but it's its own entity. They can get a lot of stuff done a lot easier than we can, because they just have a town meeting or a district meeting, and they just say, oh, we got to raise everybody's fire tax $100. All those in favor, aye, and boom, it's done. Or if it's not, it's not. And so they can do things a lot quicker. And that's a big thing that we're seeing. The trend now is working groups, because it's very hard to force something on somebody. If you put different stakeholders in the group and everybody has a little piece of it, I believe we can come up with a better product. We did that in 2016, I think, when we did the fire department reorganizational plan. I don't think anybody here was on the council at that time. You were? Okay. Oh, you were too? Okay. So, it was back and forth. We had some union involvement. Kevin Dumas was the mayor. We had just a lot of different parties involved. And it was a lot of work, but it wasn't all me. It wasn't me saying, this is what we're doing. There were other people that had important say in it, and when it was all done, we came up with something that was not exactly what I would have thought of, and in retrospect, it's probably better than what I was proposing. I think we should be looking at the same thing for everything we do in the city. And like I said, I got 5 more years, and I'm an advocate for it, and I want to do it. So I hope everybody takes it seriously, and we can start to work on some of those
Thank you.
overdue projects.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming down. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Okay. All right, thank you so much for coming down.
All right?
Thank
That was
you.
easy.
That's great.
If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Have a good night. Your pen's right on the floor, Chief. The Chief.
So, as I mentioned, we did this last year, and it's something that I'm thinking of doing annually, just to get a little bit up to date with the needs of, for public safety. One of the chiefs I was speaking to, we were talking about kind of like the housing crisis and hearing that, and the chief had mentioned, well, it's also a public safety crisis, because when we have a housing crisis, it becomes other issues, and I think that was kind of highlighted tonight. So, thanks for being involved in this, and I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:55.
There is no new business for Human Resources and Veterans Committee. I call for meeting at the next appropriate time.
We have 4 motions in the Transportation and Traffic Committee, which is a personal record, I think.
Everybody, you need to call the meeting to order, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry?
You need to call the committee to order.
So I would like to call the Transportation and Traffic Committee to order at 7:56. And we have four motions. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I would entertain a motion to transfer $8,200 from account 11241000-578300, citywide reserve fund for transfer, to account 142010000-585082, Public Works Crosswalk System. Purchase 1 solar-powered crosswalk system to be installed at the intersection of Locust Street at Hickory Road.
Second.
Thank you. So, there is currently a crosswalk. It is very close to Hickory Road. If you're coming out of Hickory Road and you're coming into Locust, the current one, and this is the reason for the motion, is to the right. And there is a big curve, not very far down the road from that, where Wamsut is located. And apparently, a number of folks, Mike Tyler told me, have a big concern that it's too close to that curve. And what they're proposing is to move that crosswalk to the left of Hickory, farther away from the curve, and put it up there. And there would also be solar-powered lights there, so that you can safely cross, and you notify the drivers to slow down and stop. Are there any questions? Please.
More of a comment. I know Councilor Holmes and I over the summer fielded several calls about this area. It's particularly important as we talk about the new proposed housing development going on down in that general area as well. This also impacts school bus drop-off and pickup, kids going to the buses. So I think there's several different safety aspects to this, and I think this is quite important that we get this out for the safety of those school children.
Okay. Councilor Morrissey, did you have a question? No. Okay. So if there's no other questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
And I say aye, and passes 3-0. Moving on. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to accept from Sturdy Health the donation of automated push-button activated lighting to 3 existing crosswalks located on Park and Dunham Street with the value of the equipment totaling $24,300. Do I have a second? Thank you. So again, talking to Mike Tyler, this is coming from Sturdy Hospital. Apparently, there are a number of employees who really want a lighted crosswalk in that area. And they have offered to pay for it. And so that is the issue. Are there any questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And none against, so that passes 3-0. And from the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion of $3,400 from account 11241000-578300. Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 142010000-553020, Public Works Safety Signs Supplies. To purchase 2 new solar-powered flashing dangerous intersection ahead signs to be placed in close proximity to the intersection of North Main Street and Holden Street.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, I will comment. So I foresee these, having talked with Mike Tyler and with the chief, that these would be placed on North Main Street before you, as you're heading up towards Holden, on the right side, one of these solar flashing lights. We have 6 in the city now, by the way. And that added, and there's a hill as you come up just before you reach the intersection of North Main and Holden. So it would be placed somewhere before that hill, because apparently not enough people are reading the signage right there. And we have to draw attention, and hopefully it'll be a safer intersection. And the chief and Mike will decide themselves where they think that should be placed. The other one will be on the other side of North Main as you're coming down from 95, again at a place of their choice. And I hope it works to a degree. And so are there any questions for that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And I say aye, passes 3-0. And the fourth one, we had the public hearing on, from the docket of December 16th, 2025, I entertain a motion to approve the request to change ordinance S-10-4, traffic control, to reflect the following. Signage 10-4-.11, isolated stop signs, delete eastbound drivers on Steer Street and Pike Street, insert Steer Street and Pike Avenue. And the other one is to insert northbound drivers on Birch and Cherry. So we've already heard about it, but let me just sum it up. This means that there would be 2 stop signs going in on Pike on each side of where Steer comes in, okay? And the reason is not so much for speeding, it's for safety, because there have been a lot of accidents down there over the years. Are there any questions on that one?
Is one of them gonna stop the traffic on Pike?
Yes, they both are.
So it's like a 3.
Yes. And then Williamsburg already has a stop sign, and that comes across from Steer.
Was there a second?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Please,
I don't
thank
believe there
you.
was a second. I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I have a one.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry, this is very confusing. Delete, because Steer Street, Pike Ave, and then it says insert northbound Birch at Cherry. I feel like this is 2 separate motions.
There is. I'm going to talk about Birch and Cherry next.
Oh, okay. I don't know, because it's just.
So I'm not
written-
gonna ask for a vote yet till we talk about Birch and Cherry. If there's no other questions on the Pike one, I would then,
Point of order, I have to agree with Council Holmes. The way this is written is it's one motion. So I don't know that you can vote it the way it is. It seems like it should be either one motion where it encompasses everything, or there should be two different motions for this.
okay,
I'm thinking two different motions.
all right. Then I will come back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes. And we can talk to Jennifer about splitting it up.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
And we can talk to the admin about splitting it into two motions, and that way people will have a time to read
Yeah,
it as
I
two.
think that's fine, that's fine. I'll put it into two
Or we
motions.
can vote it out as one, which is,
Sorry?
or we can vote it out as one, like it's written. It's just an ordinance change.
Jay, how do you see that? Two motions or one?
You're the chair, sir.
Okay. I'll do it in two motions. It's fine.
I'll withdraw my second.
Thank you. Well, we're done. So I would, that concludes the business of the Traffic and Transportation Committee. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Hold on. Are you,
My hand, I'm just holding my pen.
okay, I didn't know. Okay. So, let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned at 8:06.
The Zoning and Land Use and Sustainability Committee has no business, so we are canceled tonight.
Call the IT and Infrastructure Committee to order at 8:06. Myself, Councilor Sawyer, and Vice President Dolan present. We have one item of business this evening from the docket of February 3rd, 2026. I entertain a motion to call for a public hearing on February 17th, 2026 on the creation of an Economic Development and Strategic Planning Standing Committee.
Second.
Thank you. So my understanding of the city charter is that because this motion on kind of dissolving the IT committee and replacing it with the Economic Development and Strategic Planning Committee involves a change to the representation on the Economic Development and Incentives Board that is listed in the ordinances. Public hearing is required, so we're going to go about that the right way. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. That concludes the business for the IT and Infrastructure Committee. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We'll give it to Councilor Sawyer. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:07.
I'd like to call the Public Works Committee to order. I have six motions this evening. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to appropriate $308,000 from account 61003590000 Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to Fund 3346 Pike Avenue Water Main for Phase 1 of the Pike Avenue Water Main Replacement Project, which includes design, permitting, and bidding services.
Second.
Thank you. So like it says, it's just for the first phase, which is the permitting, design and bidding services. This will be a three-phase project. Next phase is construction phase, and then, excuse me, construction phase services, and then the actual construction. Does anybody have any questions? Counselor?
Just more of a statement. It's good to see this getting taken care of, because I think we have another water main break either yesterday, today at Pike Ave already, so.
It was today.
This is, it's good to see this is gonna get going.
Yeah,
so.
it needs to be done. Does anybody else have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to appropriate $147,273.41, which includes a 3% contingency from account 6100359000, Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings, to account 6100584072, Water Enterprise Fund pumps motors to replace a high lift pump at the West Street Treatment Facility.
Second?
Thank you. This is one of the 4 pumps that is critical. Unfortunately, like I said, this is one of 4, and this is one of the 2 pumps that are on our generator, so it's critical that we get this replaced as soon as possible. And unfortunately, it could take up to 20 weeks to get this pump in. So I urge everybody to please vote in favor of this. It's a critical piece for the water department. Does anybody have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to transfer $4,200 from account 1650100051100 park and salary wages to account 165010005210110 park heating to replenish funds used to make repairs and winterize all the park's irrigation systems.
Second?
Thank you. Pretty self-explanatory. It was just to winterize all the park's irrigation systems. Does anybody have any questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I entertain a motion to transfer $15,300 from account 1124100057830 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to the following: $2,900 to account Park Supplies Equipment, $8,000 to account Park Supplies Ground, $1,200 to account Park Supplies Vehicles, $3,200 to account Park Equipment Maintenance to replenish funds used to diagnose and repair several hydraulic and component issues on the Park and Forestry Department's roadside mower.
Second?
Thank you. So this, usually when they transfer, it's because of an emergency or whatever, so apparently this was an emergency to fix the mower. This motion, got lost in translation somewhere, so they did get this done in October. Because I was like, why is this an emergency if it's January and it's a mower? So this was done in October, taking from these particular park accounts so that they could get it fixed, and they did use it until the season was out. Does anybody have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. From the docket of December 16, 2025, I entertain a motion to approve National Grid's poll petition request to install 1 new pole on South Main Street.
Second?
Thank you. We had the public hearing. Does anybody have any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. From the docket of December 16, 2025, I entertain a motion to approve National Grid Verizon's poll petition to install 1 new pole on Tiffany Street.
Second?
Thank you. Again, we had the public hearing the same night. Does anybody have any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. And I'd like to call for an adjournment at 8:13.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I'd like to call City Property and Claims Committee to order at 8:13. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to accept the anonymous donation of $7,500 to the City of Attleboro to be used for general fire department purposes.
Second.
Thank you. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and it's really great for an anonymous donation, and obviously, after hearing the fire chief tonight, he'd love the money. Any concerns or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to accept the donation of $60 in Stop and Shop gift cards from Frank McKenzie to the Veterans Office.
Second.
Thank you. Again, pretty self-explanatory, and I think Frank McKenzie has done quite a bit in the last couple of months. I've seen his name here a couple of times, so thanks to him. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. I entertain a motion to accept the donation of $900 in Stop and Shop gift cards from the Sons of the American Legion Post 312 to the Veterans Office.
Second.
Thank you. Again, the veterans, the American Legion Post 312, but many of the other ones as well are always really donating, and we thank them for that. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I entertain a motion to, from the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. It's a 6-drawer office desk in good condition.
Second.
Thank you. Again, pretty self-explanatory. However, I don't really know where the desk is coming from, which office it's coming from, and I don't recall. Let's just see.
I believe it's human resources.
Is that where it came from? I just see, I don't have it. I don't have my, my memo. Hang on.
Counselor Reynolds?
Alright.
It is
It
human
is human,
resources.
thank you, Counsel. Okay, so it's from Human Resources. I don't know why it's not there, but it's not there. It was in the letter only. So, again, anybody have any questions or concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. That is all the business the Property and Claim Committee has this evening, and I'd like to call for an adjournment at 8:16.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:16.
I call the licensing committee to order at 8:16. Members of this committee include myself, Councilor Waterman, and Councilor Holmes. Tonight we have 3 pieces of business on the agenda. So from the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to approve the Class 2 auto renewal application from St. John Automotive, Inc., doing business as Better Auto, 473 Washington Street, with 10 customer parking spaces and 21 display spaces. I actually went down there on Friday, and there were many more cars than that on the lot.
Second.
Point.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so, no. I entertain a motion to approve the Class 2 auto
No,
renewal.
no, you
You're
can
fine.
just tell it,
You're
now
fine.
you can talk.
Oh, okay. So, I did go down there on Friday before the snowstorm, and there were many more cars there than the cars they had. And I did let the owner know that, I couldn't even park, like, I was parked in the exit. That's how many cars they had in there. So, I talked with him this morning. He also contacted the clerk's office this morning, and he explained that they got a lot of last-minute mechanic calls because of the storm that was coming. And he said, even if you showed up 2 hours later, he's like, it didn't look like that. So I made arrangements. I'm going to go back there this week and just confirm this with him. But I did also, check them out on Google and some other places. They have very good reviews. They're fairly recent owners there. So I think we'll be okay moving forward, but I will go back again this week. So motion is in order. No, any questions, comments, concerns?
I guess the only thing is you're really comfortable in asking for a vote at this point in
To
time?
move it to, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we can vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion passes 3-0. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to approve the Class 1 auto renewal application from Just Trailers, Inc., 1863 County Street, with 12 customer parking spaces and 7 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you. Again, I went down there on Friday. They were actually closed. They were not open, but there were maybe 6 cars in the whole lot, and then a few trailers, but plenty of space to go forward. I don't anticipate any problems with that. So, are there any other further questions, comments, concerns?
Okay.
Hearing none, we can vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 3-0. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to approve the Class 2 auto renewal application from Seacon Gas and Repair, Inc., doing business as 123 Mobile, 300 County Street, with 4 customer parking spaces and 9 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you. Again, I went down there on Friday, place was packed. I couldn't park, I was able to count the cars as I was waiting at the light. I went back again today and plenty of room, they were actually plowing out their driveway, so I think, based on the conversation with the other person, it was probably the storm's coming, people were crowding in to get things done. But I will go back, they were busy snow plowing, so I didn't actually go in and talk to them. I waited around for a while, but they were just really busy, so I'm just gonna go back there again, probably on Thursday. But I think everything's in order, so if anyone else has any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, hearing none, we can vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. That concludes the business for the License Committee. I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:20.
Excellent job.
I call ordinances, elections, and legislative matters to order at 8:20. Members of my committee include myself, Councilor Holmes, and Councilor McIntyre. From the docket, February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to transfer $72,800 from account 112-41000-578380 Citywide Reserve Fund for Capital to account 116-21000-585101 Elections Commission Voting Equipment to purchase 14 voting tabulators for the Elections Office.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. So I trust everyone received and read the backup communication from the Elections Office from Sharon. I also followed up with some questions via email. I believe the council administrator sent that out, so hopefully folks had a chance to review that. But essentially, just summarizing the issue, we've got 14 voting tabulators, and so there's one for each precinct, so 12, and then we've got 2 spare ones, and they're approximately 10 years old at this point. And in Sharon's experience over the last 2 years, we've been having technical difficulties pretty much every single election utilizing them, and just regular repair bills, and so they're pretty close to the end of their useful life. And for the 2026 midterms later this year, Sharon said we're expecting a record number of ballot questions, 9, which I didn't know, so interesting fact. And we may even see double-sided ballots, adding to that layer of complexity. So what she's proposing is that we go to our current voting tabulator vendor and purchase new tabulators, which are generally $5,700 per tabulator, but because we can turn in our existing ones, that reduces the price by $500, so it knocks it down to $5,200. And if we purchase them by the spring of this year, then that gets us time to set them up for the midterms and be able to utilize them this year. One of my concerns was, what's the useful life, of this, and are there any particular issues that we might have to worry about with these new tabulators that, perhaps, could be an issue based on, what we've seen with these past tabulators. Sharon didn't seem to have any of those concerns, so I'm happy with that. She expects the useful term to be another decade, so. And then we get the price reduction for turning in our existing tabulators. So I think this is needed for running smooth elections over the next several years. So, but just wanted to get all that context out there. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So just a little context on this next piece of business. So this is the public hearing for the tie and TIF requests. And unfortunately, the language for the proposed ordinance didn't make it into the committee minutes. But I don't want to delay scheduling the public hearing, so I will read it for the record, the proposed language. And this, I've actually spent some time reviewing this with the city solicitor, and so as to form, this is approved. But I want to read it into the record, and then we'll make sure that through the council admin, everyone's get a copy of this, this week, so we can start advertising for the public hearing. But just wanted to give that context, so so if we could just wait, if there is a second, if we could wait on the second until the full proposed language is read, that would be my request. From the docket of September 2nd, 2025, I entertain a motion to call for a public hearing on February 17th, 2026 regarding the request to require a public hearing when a tax incentive exemption or tax incentive funding is requested from the city. The proposed ordinance language will read as follows: 2-19.10, public hearing required for tax increment agreements. Prior to the approval or ratification by the municipal council or of any tax increment financing agreement or tax increment exemption agreement, the municipal council shall conduct a public hearing. For purposes of this section, a tax increment financing agreement or tax increment exemption agreement shall mean any agreement authorized pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 23A, Section 3E, Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 59, Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5M, and implemented in accordance with 760 CMR 66 as amended. The public hearing required by this section shall be held after negotiation of the proposed agreement by the Economic Development Incentive Board and prior to final approval or ratification by the municipal council. Notice of the public hearing shall be published in a newspaper of general circulation in the city prior to the date of the hearing and shall identify the project sponsor or applicant, the location of the property, the general nature of the proposed tax incentive. No tax increment financing agreement or tax increment exemption agreement shall be approved or ratified by the municipal council unless the public hearing required by this section has been conducted.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Okay, I appreciate the flexibility on that one, but I want to make sure that we have this on the record. And are there any questions, comments, concerns with voting this out in the committee with the proposed language? Okay. All right, very good. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, from the docket of December 3rd, 2024, I'm sorry, strike that. From the docket of October 15, 2024, I entertain a motion to strike the following: to introduce a new committee, Section 2-22 Community Engagement Committee, Sections 2-22.1 Organization, 2-22.2 Powers and Duties.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Okay, so without getting into the merit of the proposed committee here, I generally have a concern with creating another committee and having enough volunteer members to make it effective. I think this is a concern that even recently, several weeks ago, I think back in late fall, the mayor has mentioned in the past that it's been difficult to be able to find members to volunteer on even ad hoc committees. Never mind the actual standing volunteer boards and commissions that we have right now in the city. And I think this is a concern if we're looking to add more committees. So just by looking at the boards and commissions that currently have vacancies, and I'll read them off to you. We've got the Board of Trust Fund Commissioners, Conservation Commission, Council on Aging, Cultural Council, Disability Commission, Historical Commission, Municipal Building Commission, Traffic Study Commission, Youth Commission. I think the goal of this committee can be added to the scope of existing committees that share similar goals. And, personally, I think this can be added as a general mandate to, for example, the Council on Human Rights or others. I think that can be explored. And even as just a parallel point, even here on the council, we're undertaking efforts to consolidate and narrow the scope of special committees into standing committees. So I think this would be in line with that. And I think we should take that same approach to volunteer boards and commissions. So those are my thoughts. Open it up to questions, comments, concerns. Councilor Sawyer?
I actually have a concern about striking this, because when we had the public hearing for this committee, we had a huge amount of people coming to talk about how they really thought this would be a great committee for the city. And I think that, I know it's far out from that point, and all the committees that you said have spaces for volunteers, but I wonder if there's some other way that we can put this up there again to, for people, because I know this would have a great following of people, and that people would volunteer for it. But again, this was far out that we did have that time, but I still have that concern that this would be something that is kind of needed and was set up as what was called a diversity committee at that time, and people really wanted to have that here. So I just had a concern.
So, yeah, and thank you for that. And just a point of clarification, and I think you started on that track at the end, this particular committee has not had a public hearing.
No,
The
but
Diversity
it's-
Commission
it's the-
did,
the
but
name-
this is
the name
a
changed.
different committee.
Basically it's just because the name had changed, but it's similar.
Councilor Holmes?
I think that the name changed because there was an attempt to kind of rebrand, but I agree with your approach to this. I think we need to strike it, and if residents are interested in joining anything, we can certainly, I think that that's wonderful and welcome them to connect with the administration. But even when you look at C, reduce isolation and enhance solidarity, this is exactly, when you read what this is about, there's so many other committees and commissions that that could offer that. So I just don't see this different enough that we should go down this path. I agree with you that it's time to strike this. That concludes my comments.
Mr. President Dolan?
Thank you. I don't agree with striking this at all. I think that we either vote up or down and on its merits, bring it to the full council and vote on it as it is. And I don't think it overlaps in other committees, commissions, when you talk about reduce isolation, enhance solidarity. It's basically about community engagement. And, people didn't like the diversity title, which is fine. I have no problem with it being renamed. But, we did have a lot of residents here that were interested in it. And, just because we have vacancies on other commissions, boards and commissions, doesn't mean there won't be people that are interested in this. Again, I just don't think we're serving the residents by just striking it and not doing anything with it. I realize it's been, over a year since we had that public hearing, but I think we need to vote on it up or down on its merits. And I think that people would volunteer for this board, and I don't think it's the same as any of our other boards and commissions, so I'm completely against striking this. Thank you.
So, couple things that I heard. One, that this was just a branding change to a new committee name, and I don't think that's entirely true. I don't think we're being honest if that's what we're saying, because the substance of the proposed committee here is different than what was originally proposed. There were working sessions of a special committee to come up with this language. And I don't want to take that away, all of that work that went into this, but I think either we need to be honest and say this is a different committee that was being proposed, or this is the same committee with a different name. And if it's the same committee with a different name, we've already voted that down as a council in the past. So I think there's precedent there. Now, that's not necessarily an argument for saying that this should be approved or shouldn't be. I think you look at this separately. But I think it's important to make that distinction as well, so. Councilor McIntyre.
Thank you. I would echo Vice President Dolan's comments on, I think I would prefer to see this vote go before the whole council rather than striking it. I think that is just the path that I think is the best way to go about it. The second point, to the merit of the particular committee, I think when you look at, particularly some of the issues that we're experiencing at the national level where people feel more divided than other, a committee like this that is focused on kind of trying to remedy that and be able to focus programming on bringing the community together to, be able to, reduce isolation, enhance solidarity, to strengthen communal bonds. I think that has value, particularly in the time that we're in. So I think even at the merit, I think this would be a benefit to the city. So for that reason, I would oppose striking this.
Councilor Garcia.
Thank you. So a couple things. I think it's the purview of the chair if he wants to strike something from his committee or not. I think that's the reality of it. We all have that as committee chairs. Secondly, what I would say is this ordinance, the way it's written, is stacked with redundancies, and it's going to take away potentially, actually let me rephrase, will potentially add strife to existing committees and commissions that we have across the city. We're talking about C. Let's talk about C. Disabled. We have the Commission for the Disability Commission. We have the Human Rights Commission. I mean, we have these things already working in the city, and I think that this is redundant, and I think it's going to blur the lines. Maybe it's just the way it's written, but I think the biggest thing is the committee chair has every right to strike if he wants to strike, and people can always bring it back.
Vice President Dolan.
Thank you. And I do agree. It's your committee. You have a right to do whatever you see fit. And I don't agree with the redundancy. And regardless, even if it is redundant, we're not. I don't believe that it would cause strife within any other committee or commission. It's about community engagement, and I think that we should keep it, and if we want to have a public hearing, we can have a public hearing and see what the public says. But I'm, again striking it, and that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Councilor Reynolds.
I'm all for striking it. I think it's redundant as well, and that we've gone over that. And it's just a difference in name change. It's exactly the same thing as the diversity. We just changed the name, so I'm very comfortable with it being struck.
President Kopis.
I also disagree with striking it. I think in general, I prefer to bring things out to the full council for a vote, and so that we all are allowed to have our voices heard. But with that said, I do agree that with the things that are going on nationally and all of that, just being out in public and meeting with people and doing anything we can to encourage that, I do think is incredibly valuable. I do have some reservations on if we'll be able to staff it, if people will show up, but I think it's in our best interest to try. And if it doesn't work after a year and we strike it, or if it's 2 years, then so be it. But I do think, especially in this time, it's important that we try.
Any additional comments?
Yes,
Councilor Wyman.
I want to bring it in front of the whole council. I thought there was a tremendous amount of interest, much more than any other committee that we ever tried to bring in here. And the word inclusive keeps coming up in the explanation of the committee. And I see this as a way, and I don't think it's involved with any of the other any other councils that we have, reaching out to new people, creating events, helping people really become part of Attleboro. That's how I read this, as part of their duties. I don't think we have another piece of our organization in the city that really focuses as much on that, if any. So,
Councilor Holmes.
Well, again, there hasn't been a public hearing on this, and the human rights is exactly like that. And it's interesting because I'm hearing people say, we want to include people. I feel like this is turning people off. We've created in the last 5 years, we did the human rights, we did the Disability Commission, which has brought in wonderful grants. I think it's wonderful, but at the same time, I feel like this is the type of language and the type of thing that's actually turning people off and making people not feel included. So for those reasons, I am comfortable striking it. We've already created different commissions in the last 5 years. They're not even fully staffed right now, so I think that we should really work to get the community involved in making sure that they can certainly join, and we welcome that, but at the same time, I'm comfortable striking this. And there has not been a public hearing on this. I do feel like it has been a name rebranding, personally, so that concludes my comments, thank you.
Are there any additional questions, comments, concerns? Okay. So here's what I'm inclined to do. I think functionally, if we strike this, or if we take a vote to strike and it passes, it's gonna go before the full council anyway. So the full council has a voice. And then at that point, if the full council decides not to strike it, then I think it's the same result as if we were voting on actually passing the ordinance as written. So I think we still all get the same opportunity as councilors once it hits the floor if this is voted out of committee. So that's what I'm inclined to do. I think that addresses your point, President Kobus, which I think is a good point. It is important for councilors, I think, to have a chance to, voice their opinion. But I think that naturally will happen in the process. And to your point, Councilor Waterman, I think we can argue about whether, some of the provisions that are contemplated in this proposed committee are, redundant or not with existing committees. And even if, we take the position, and, everyone's got a different position on this, that it has a different mandate than some of the other, commissions and boards, I still don't see a reason not to include some of that mandate in some of those existing boards or commissions, because the reality is all these boards and commissions that I listed off, they all have vacancies. So I think we would be fooling ourselves to think that, right away we would have a sufficient number of members to be able to take part in a new committee. I think those are just the facts, right? So, and I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn. The mayor has mentioned that before, and we see it. So, so that being said, I would like to take a vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Dang.
Motion passes. And that is the conclusion of the motions that we're considering here in the ordinances committee. I did want to address one other thing. As many will recall, Mr. Caponegro joined us at Committee of the Whole last week. And one of his requests is that we review, well, I'll correct the record first. He cited a section of the revised ordinances, and in fact, it's actually the city charter that he was referencing, and just wanted to correct that for the record on his behalf. But we have been communicating over email, and that's substantially different, amending or proposing to amend the ordinances versus amending the city charter. So something that I've started talking to him about, and actually I will follow up. We're actually in communication earlier today, but just wanted to publicly let the council know that we've been working on that. And part of my response to him was the process for amending the city charter, which isn't as simple as one of us just proposing business and us voting on it like an ordinance change. It requires the participation of the legislature or creating a charter commission, which is something separately that I believe or hope to address this current session as well, because I think on top of the issue that Mr. Caponegro brought up, I think there's several others. Including specific issues that a couple of administrations ago brought up and introduced as business to the council. So I think there's a lot of sections of the Charter Commission that should be reviewed in a holistic manner. But all that to say, we addressed that, but talked about it in terms of the scope of something much bigger that I think we will have to address and tackle in one form or another as a council. So, but that's it for my comments there. That being said, I would move to adjourn at 8:44.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you. I call Finance Committee to order at 8:44. I have 8 pieces of business to bring in front of you. Before we get started, I think it's apropos to thank all the city workers who came out and took great care of the city during this past storm, a lot of which I've spoken with. They've worked parts of 3 days, as well as the first responders, so great job. I plan to have Mason down on February 10th to give an update. I've also talked to Mason about providing a monthly update on balances in all the accounts, along with a template which kind of describes which account is what their balance is. So we have a little bit of a heads up on a monthly basis. Now, admittedly, there'll be a little bit of delay just because of when things come down, when things are voted out. But I think it's important, especially for this budget season, which is gonna be a pretty difficult budget season. We've been talking about it, so just to give everyone a heads up, let's start talking about it in February, so it's a lot easier to digest when we hit the ground running in April and May. That being said, from the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to transfer $14,594.30 from account 1124100-5783000 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1220100-51100 fire salaries and wages to replenish funds used to process the annual vacation buyback in accordance with the current CBA collective bargaining agreement between the City of Attleboro and professional firefighters of Attleboro Local 848.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. This is contractual, but it's important to point out that sometimes these vacation buybacks, they'll be able to handle that with a transfer, generally from the overtime. This year, as we heard the chief say, they're a little lean on overtime. Where this is a one-time payment and it's not a recurring, we could have used free cash, but with some of the other expenditures that are coming down, I agree with Mason, it makes sense to be using the reserve fund for transfer. So, any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to transfer $30,815.87, which includes a 10% contingency from account 1124100-5783000, citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1220100-51401, fire college credits due to the need of funds to make college credit payments in accordance with the current collective bargaining agreement between the City of Attleboro and professional firefighters, Attleboro Local 848.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. So this again is contractual. You're probably like, why is there a 10% contingency on this? Prices go up. This is what it looks like we're gonna need right now. This will be a recurring, but we'll still be able to use this from city where it is recurring and it's not a one time. That's why it's not coming from free cash. So this will be recurring as well. It's contractual. This is how we keep good firefighters and paramedics, because we're able to give them the opportunity to better their career through the college. It's a great incentive for folks, and a lot of the communities around us have that. And again, it is contractual. Questions, thoughts, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Council Dolan?
I said aye.
Oh, I didn't hear you, thank you. 3-0, motion passes. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to transfer $17,104.30, which includes a 10% contingency from account 1124100-5783000, citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1220100-5140045, fire certification differential, due to the need for funds to make firefighter certification differential payments in accordance with current collective bargaining agreement between the City of Attleboro and the professional firefighters, Local 848.
Second.
Thank you. I really don't have that much else to say other than this is contractual as well. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to appropriate $380,000, which does include a 10% contingency from account 1000-359000, undesignated fund free, balance free cash general government, to fund 3417 athletic complex to resurface the Attleboro High School track.
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. We did the track over about 10 years ago, and that was quite the accomplishment. I mean, the whole complex was quite the accomplishment. If we remember, we were on the, Council Reynolds, I think you were there, we were on the track with Andre Tippett from the Patriots, Mayor Jumis. It was a big deal. Since then, the Attleboro High School track program is one of the best in the state. It's one of the biggest. They win the Kelly Rex year after year after year. And after 10 years, that track is starting to show its wear and tear. And I think that we've made such a great investment in the community. This just makes sense to ensure that we're really looking for that return on our investment. So I think it's important to note that the turf itself within the next 4 to 5 years may need to be replaced, so we need to keep that on our radar as well. But, you know, it's a great opportunity to give one of the best programs at Attleboro High School, coached by a lot of our friends, Mike Whitefield, and we've just seen so many kids come in, run, and just have great careers, not just in high school, but also in college. So to me, I think this is a no-brainer. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to appropriate $120,000 from account 1000-359000, undesignated fund balance free cash, general government, to fund 3434 school capital, to fund the walkie-talkie project in order to complete the replacement of the district-wide walkie-talkie system.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Just a couple things about this. I mean, this is about as self-explanatory as it comes. However, you heard the chief talk about the radio. These are the walkie-talkies, and they go district to district. It's a safety issue. To me, it's one that's been in the CIP for some time. It's on the state bid list, so we don't need the contingency, which would also speed this up. So, additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, hold on to your hats for this one, friends. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to authorize the Health Department to pay fiscal year 25 invoice from Interpreters and Translators Incorporated in the amount of $7.83. Thank you. Motion is in order.
Oh, what do you think?
This will bankrupt, no, I'm just kidding. This is just for the, it's a previous year bill. It's for the interpreter services that they use to help customers be able to understand what's going on. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Mr. Angelo?
Can we get a breakdown of those $7?
Well, it's actually in
27
the, it's actually in the backup. No, so this is just a previous year bill, and this happens a lot. It's just when the services are provided and if the bill comes in after July 1st. So this is, they actually, which is, just shows the health of their accounts, is they have the money in their own account, so they can, they just need the authorization. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. From the docket of February 3rd, 2026, I entertain a motion to appropriate $70,000 from account 1000-359000, undesignated fund balance, free cash, general government, to fund 2501 insurance proceeds greater than $150,000 to cover the additional related expenses not covered by insurance proceeds related to the replacement of an HVAC unit at Thatcher Elementary School.
Second.
Thank you. All right, so this is, we talked about this last term. We talked about the need, and we knew that this was going to be coming back. President Kobus talked about that this would be coming back. It's back. It's here. This is for the $70,000. The name, now you're going to see that $150,000. That's the name of the account. That's not what the price is on this. So the next motion will be to actually authorize the school department to authorize those funds. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Finally, from the docket of February 3rd, 8th, where's that coming from, John? I entertain a motion to authorize the expenditure of insurance proceeds by the school department in result of the replacement of an HVAC unit at Thatcher Elementary School from Fund 2501, insurance proceeds greater than $150,000.
Second.
Thank you. One thing I will add is that it's important to get this done now so we can ensure that it's up and running for those kids by the summertime. And just the way it always goes, it fell just outside of the 1-year warranty. So that's where we're at. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And that is all the business for finance, and I would call for an adjournment at 8:54.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are opposed at 8:54.